Today we're going to do a black and white landscape. You're going to go to the P drive. You're going to go to Photo Demo Examples. You're going to go to Landscape Edit, and you're going to select Black and White Landscape, and you're going to open that image. The first thing you're going to do is duplicate the image, and you're going to call it Working Image. The next step is to take our lasso tool over here, which is the third tool down on the toolbar, and we're going to select areas of similar values. So this green area is all the same value tone. I'm going to feather that out to at least 250, and I'm going to come over here to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I'm going to check that, and it looks like it wants me to lighten that up a little bit. Say OK. Now I'm going to go here to the center, go to Refine Edge, Feather, up at 250. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and again I'm going to bring the arrows to the start of the mountain here. So right about here and right about here. I'm going to select this left side over here. I'm going to feather it to 250. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and just slightly move it to the right and slightly move it over to the left. Now I'm going to select this gray rock area down here at the bottom, go to Refine Edge. I'm going to feather it to 250. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, move it a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. OK. And again, I'm going to select this area right in here on the right, Refine Edge. I'm going to feather that to 250, or you could just type in 250 if you want. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. I'm going to move it a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left where the mountain starts. Now I'm going to do the center, just pagoda and the rock area, Refine Edge. I'm going to feather that to 250, and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I'm going to move it to the right and a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. Okay, so there's before and there's after, and now we can see that we have a little more contrast in the image. Contrast means that the colors are popping a little bit. The bushes, the trees, the very thin branches are standing out a little bit better against the black or the darker green in the back. The rocks are standing out a little more against the light colored small rocks. The larger ones are standing out against the small colored rocks. Alright, so now the next step is to go in and retouch. So we're going to select our clone stamping tool, and I'm going to go Control plus on my keyboard, and I'm going to zoom in. I'm also going to go to Window, and I'm going to open my navigator so that I can move around my navigator like this and retouch a little easier. So I'm going to remove all the leaves on the ground. Hold the Alt down, left click, and I'm just going to hold down the Alt, select the rocks, Alt, left click, and then right click on the mouse. So I'm holding down the Alt key, I'm left clicking, And I'm continuing to left click, making sure all the leaves are gone. Alt, left click, you see that bullseye, right? I release my Alt, I move it over, and I fill in the space. You probably want to have your opacity at about 50% so that you don't do it too quickly. I'm also going to make my brush slightly smaller. And I can make my brush smaller by moving it down here, or I can push the bracket keys on my keyboard, and that will also make my brush smaller or larger. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, left click, and I'm going to clone. Alt, left click, release the Alt, and continue to left click. Alt, left click, release. And you can see that I can just keep going along here and keep getting rid of these little leaves. And move over here to this side. Okay, the next thing I'm going to remove is this dark bush area right over here. I'm going to clone some of the bush over here on the right side. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger, and I'm just going to select the entire area by holding down the Alt key, left clicking. I'm going to move it over now, and I can see that the pattern that I just selected on the right, it shows up here. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to start to fill in that area. Now it's not quite done, so I'm going to do it some more. I'm going to this time move my brush down to a smaller size, and I'm going to click the Alt, left click, and move it in again. You'll notice I'm selecting from different areas every time so that I create different textures. I don't want to create what's called a clone stamping pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to back up and look at that, and I feel like it needs a little more filling in still, so I'm going to Alt left click and bring it over. Okay, so before and after. Now I want to get rid of I'm going to redo this again. I don't really like the way it looks, so I'm going to take some more over here and put it in again. Or if you don't like how it looks, you can always go back on your clone stamping tool, History. So if you'll notice over here on the right side, I went back on my history and I actually just undid it completely. So there is where I stopped. And there is where I went back on my history, just completely going back. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change my opacity to 100%, because what I want to do is I want to bring this over in one big clump. So I'm going to go Alt, left click, I'm going to move it over, fill it in, and then that, in my opinion, looks better now. That looks more natural. So I did that particular cloning at 100%. The only thing I'm going to change is this right here, because this is the same as this leaf pattern, and you can see it's kind of repeated here. So I'm going to take this, clone something over here, and move it there. And then we've removed that. Okay, so the next thing is the pull that goes along the back. I want to get rid of that. So again, I'm going to do at 100% because what I want to do is I want to clone this these very thin bamboo down. So I'm going to put my clone brush tool right above the bamboo. I'm going to select it with my target and then move it down slightly, and you'll see it gets rid of the pull there. Same thing here. Just keep moving it down. little bit here as well. Edit, undo, or clone stamp undo on the history. I don't like how it looks, okay? And then I'm going to get rid of this little branch right over here as well. So let's back out and let's see how that looks. So there is afterwards, and here is before, afterwards, and before. So now it's time to add in a brightness layer. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put in a brightness layer. And now it has a lot of contrast already, so I don't want to mess with that too much. I think I want to bring the brightness down just a little bit to like a -6, and I'm going to bring the contrast up just a tad. Okay, so now let's turn that off. You can see before and afterwards. It's a very subtle change, very subtle. So now what I want to do is I want to add in a black and white layer. So I'm going to click on my image adjustment layers, and I'm going to put in black and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the yellow, which is going to lighten anything that has like a yellow tone. And I'm going to bring that up a little bit to 121. I'm going to bring the greens down. That's going to bring anything that's a dark green down. That's going to bring that down to a -15. I'm going to see if there's any reds in here. Not really. Any blues? Not really. Any magentas? Nope. So it seems like this image is mostly made with yellow and green tones. So before and afterwards. Now what I want to do is I want to dodge and burn some of these areas. So I'm going to duplicate my working image, and I'm going to call it Dodge and Burn. And I'm going to come over here and click on this little circle with like, it looks like a lollipop, okay? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 tools down the vertical toolbar, and it shares it same location with the burning tool. So it might either look like a hand or like a lollipop. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dodge the center here. Make sure we have our midtone selected at about 30% exposure. And I'm going to dodge the pagoda area in here and lighten it up a little bit. I'm also going to dodge some of these center rocks. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and I want to burn the edges. I want to burn these edges. I want the tension to be drawn to the center. And I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. I'm going to burn these outer rocks a little bit and make them a little darker. So before and afterwards, we can see now that our attention is being drawn to the center pagoda, and the leaves on the outside are darker and the center is a little bit lighter. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add in my final tool, which is going to be a solid color vignette in black. Okay, I'm going to click on my layer mask. Very important that I activate my layer mask here. And I'm going to click on a brush. I'm going to make sure I've selected a very soft brush here on the left right here. I'm going to make my brush size 2500. And now I'm going to remove the solid color vignette, leaving a little bit of darkness on the edges at the bottom. And there we go. We turn it on. That's what it looks like. If we turn it off, it looks like that. And now we are done. So you need to make sure that you have all these layers. Your background layer, your working image layer, your dodge and burn layer, your brightness, your black and white layer, and your color fill layer. If you don't have all these layers, you've done something wrong and you need to make sure that you correct it.